Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving right into something absolutely fascinating. We're looking at an ancient, continuous, and just incredibly powerful Sanskrit chant known as the Langula Upanishad. If you've ever found yourself wondering how ancient texts conceptualize the idea of ultimate protection, well, you're in for a treat today. This text essentially functions as a Tantric Hanuman Kavach. Now, Kavach literally translates to armor, and in this specific context, it's a meticulously crafted spiritual shield that invokes the supreme power of Hanuman. So we're going to break down the anatomy of this ultimate tantric armor. We'll use the direct source text to see exactly how it's built from the ground up to defend against literally everything, from physical ailments to unseen negative forces. To really wrap our heads around a text as dense as this one, we're going to break it down thematically. We'll look at the ultimate tantric shield, visualizing the invincible form, eradicating diseases and pains, banishing dark entities, and finally, the power of bija mantras. Okay, let's get into it. Part 1. The Ultimate Tantric Shield. Before this text even addresses any specific threats, it establishes a perimeter, and it does this by invoking a protector whose very nature is completely unbreakable. It uses this incredibly intense, visceral language to just immediately ground the practitioner in a state of absolute security. Listen to the phonetic power of this opening meditation, or dhyanam. Vajra Deha, Vajra Pucha, Vajra Kaya. Vajra translates to thunderbolt or diamond, basically something fundamentally indestructible. So by repeating Vajra, the text is forcefully layering this diamond-like invincibility over the body, the form, and even the tail of Hanuman. It sets this heavy, almost ground-shaking tone right out of the gate. You're not just asking for a little help here, you are actively visualizing a diamond fortress. Part 2. Visualizing the invincible form. Once that perimeter is set, the text goes on to construct the exact form of our protector, and it really goes to great lengths here to describe not just a physically powerful being, but a literal cosmic entity that can absorb the universe's most destructive forces. It maps out physical attributes, things like Vajranaka, meaning diamond nails, and Pingalaksha, those fierce reddish-brown eyes. But it goes way beyond just the physical. The text describes Hanuman as commanding and even consuming ultimate divine weapons like the Brahmastra, the Narayanastra, and the Pasupatastra. In the ancient world, these were the equivalent of absolute cosmic destruction. So by aligning Hanuman's physical traits with these supreme weapons, the text is creating a visualized force that is, for all intents and purposes, entirely impenetrable. Part 3. Eradicating diseases and pains. So, with our protector visualized, what exactly are we defending against? Well, this text isn't just dealing with abstract spiritual concepts, it gets incredibly granular about physical suffering. It categorizes ailments with this sort of clinical precision. The meticulousness here is just mind-boggling, especially when it comes to disease, specifically fevers, which are known as jwara. It targets fevers that strike daily, every 3 days, every 4 days, all the way up to monthly and even yearly recurrent fevers, samvatsarika. By verbally identifying every single possible cyclical time frame that a disease could strike, the chant makes absolutely sure there is no gap in the protective armor over time. It's basically a comprehensive lockdown of your physical health. And this protection builds even further by juxtaposing specific physical pains, referred to as shula, right up against spiritual threats. So on one hand, you have highly localized pain, like Shira Shula for the head, Udara Shula for the stomach, and Netra Shula for eye pain. But then it immediately pivots. It shifts to protect against the Bhuta, Preta, and Pishacha, which are various classes of ghosts and malevolent spirits. The text is essentially asserting that to be truly protected, you have to be shielded from both ends of the spectrum, the microscopic physical pains you can feel, and the invisible spiritual entities you can't. Part 4. Banishing dark entities. That seamless transition from the physical right into the unseen leads us directly onto the spiritual battlefield. You see, ancient practitioners didn't just passively sit back and hope for protection, they actively fought back against negative influences. The chant actually embeds a step-by-step tantric exorcism process. First is the invocation, calling upon Hanuman in his absolute most fierce, terrifying Rudra or Bhairava forms. Second is identification, explicitly naming the entities, like the Dakini, the Vaitals, and the incredibly powerful Brahmarakshas, because, as the logic goes, you cannot destroy what you don't actually name. And finally, destruction. It doesn't just politely ask these entities to leave. It uses highly aggressive commands like mar, meaning strike or kill, and shoshe, meaning dry up or wither. The chant really operates as a highly active mechanical process of spiritual banishment. To really get a grasp on the mechanics of this destruction, we have to look at the specific esoteric language being used. Throughout the source text, you're going to repeatedly encounter the commands Chediaya and Bediaya. Now, these are definitely not passive words. Chediaya means to sever or cut completely, while Bediaya means to pierce, shatter, or break through. Whenever this chant addresses an obstacle, a binding curse, or some negative spiritual entity, it deploys these harsh, percussive commands to demand the immediate and forceful dismantling of that specific threat. Part 5. The Power of Bija Mantras. So you might be wondering, how does a spoken word actually become a spiritual weapon? Well, it happens through sounds like this: Om, Hrim, Hrum, Pat, Swaha. This right here is the underlying acoustic engine that gives the chant its perceived power. These aren't just standard words with dictionary definitions in the traditional sense. They're bija or seed mantras. Within the Tantric tradition, these syllables are considered condensed acoustic energy. They function quite literally as spiritual weaponry, firing off within the continuous rhythm of the text. Sounds like Hrim and Hrum invoke immense concentrated power and divine illusion. Then you have Pat, which is a really sharp, weaponized sound specifically used to break through negativity. By weaving these seed sounds directly into the physical descriptions and exorcism commands, the text ensures the armor is constantly pulsing with energy. As the chant finally draws to a close, it seals this formidable armor with some serious final divine endorsements. The text explicitly claims that this very knowledge was spoken by the highest authorities, Sri Ramachandra, Sri Mahadeva, and the fierce Sri Virabhadra. It prescribes a strict regimen, too. It's meant to be chanted tri-sandhyam, meaning at the 3 cosmic junctions of the day: dawn, noon, and dusk. And the ultimate promise for doing all of this? Sampurnam. Utter completeness, fulfillment, and absolute success in forging this unbreakable spiritual shield. We've seen exactly how the Langula Upanishad constructs a diamond body, wields cosmic weapons, meticulously guards against both physical and spiritual disease, and uses the acoustic force of bija mantras to just completely shatter negativity. It really is a breathtakingly complex blueprint for invincibility. It's a tool that ancient humans used to regain their agency and find courage in what was a terrifying, unpredictable world. Passed down through ancient texts by divine figures like Ramanachandra and Mahadeva themselves, it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder. Now that you understand the true anatomy of this ultimate Tantra Kavach, how will you wield the knowledge of this protective armor?